Hi guys, well it is time for us to take a look at another case, and in the spotlight today is a BitFenix Shogun. Now this here is touted as the company's flagship chassis, which soon becomes apparent after a brief inspection. Shogun here blends together aluminium, tempered glass and steel. And it doesn't end there, as we're going to find out in today's video. Inside there are some nifty and creative features. Shogun is marked out as a super mid-tower, carrying support for up to E80X form factor. While the case does take a standard layout, there are some interesting twists, such as GPU support brackets, plenty of storage options, and even RGB lighting, which can be linked to Asus Aura technology. Now you guys can pick this case up for $145 in the UK, $165 in the US, and so it isn't cheap, nor is it lacking in quality construction. But by the end of today's video, we should be kind of able to ascertain whether or not it is worth the money. So let's begin. Okay, well the best place to start is at the front, and so this is the front section of Shogun, which is actually plastic, and this comes as a bit of a surprise because it blends in very well with the aluminium at the top and the bottom, and so BitFenix has done a great job there merging those different materials together. Now the front is rather plain, but we do have a metallic logo at the bottom, and while that panel there up at the top does appear to look like a 5 1/4 bay, it isn't. It is just the design of the case. As expected, this fascia does separate from the chassis. We just need to give it a soft pull and it just lifts off. Underneath we have two 120mm cooling fans, and those are intakes. And at the front we can either go with a triple 120mm fan arrangement or a double 140 fan arrangement. Up at the top we have an area there designated for the front panel connectivity, and this consists of headphone and microphone jacks, two USB 2 ports, a power button, two USB 3 ports, a reset button and a lighting button. And that lighting button allows you to adjust the colour of the two SSD mounts on the side of the chassis. BitFenix call this Quick Custom SSD Chroma. And available we have red, green, blue, purple, yellow, light blue, light green, a cycle of all the colours with a pulsating transition, and then last of all we have that option there to switch the lighting off. Now up at the top of Shogun we have a sheet of aluminium which creates this tunnel with a hollowed out effect. And while the top is quite obviously covered and shielded from dust falling in from the top side, there is enough of a gap there to provide ventilation should you want to add in some fans or even a radiator. This top panel is detachable, but it isn't just a case of giving it a firm pull. You will need to patiently edge it out from either side and then pop out those plastic clips while doing so. And here it is taken away from the case. You can see there are those plastic clips on the inside. If you pull too hard or you aren't careful enough, those could well break off. So at the top we can install triple 120mm fans or a double 140 fan arrangement, and that of course paves the way for up to 360mm radiator support. And later on we'll explore the options here. Getting onto the sides, both have been treated to some nice thick tempered glass. The prominent side is transparent so that you can take a nice view of your system, while the alternate side has been given a smoke finish to conceal any loose cables that you might want to hide or mask. Both sheets of glass make use of 4 wide head thumb screws. So lifting those panels away from the chassis, this is what we're presented with. Shogun takes on a traditional layout and it can accommodate up to E80X form factor. There are some slight modifications to what you would expect from a standard chassis, with a focus there really on the installation being quite modular. And so now I'll jump in and have a look at those features. At the bottom of the chassis we have the power supply, and that is completely masked out by this bracket here. And so when you install you will need to lower that carefully into the lower section. And it is recommended to get that PSU in as the first stage so that you don't knock into the motherboard. And immediately underneath the power supply we have a detachable dust filter which can be easily removed and cleaned. And just above this we have a section of 7 PCI expansion covers. Each of those have the ventilation cutouts and they use a thumb screw so that you can get things in and out easily. Now Shogun actually has a 120mm fan included as an exhaust, but as you can see from the mounting configuration, it is possible to fit a 140mm fan if you wanted something bigger. And that obviously allows you to drop in a 120 or a 140 radiator too. And up at the top, as we've already mentioned, you can either go with triple 120s or double 140s. Over on the other side, we have a stack of storage trays for adding in 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch drives. You get access by going around the other side. You can see there that we also have some additional trays in the lower section too. And so this type of tray is fairly common. The pins just attach to the side of a larger drive like this, while a smaller drive like an SSD just needs the screws attaching to the underside. And then we also have these two SSD adapters on the back side of the Mobo tray, which is a really convenient and good use of space. Those just need screws on the underside. And it doesn't end there either, because at the front we have these extra spots here for adding in two SSDs. As we saw earlier, the mounting placements for these SSDs feature the RGB lighting, which can be modified on the front panel. But further than that, if you have an Asus board with an Aura lighting header, then you can sync everything up. Now the bracket to which these SSDs sit on, and which actually needs to be removed, can be quite tricky to work with. And that is because of the number of thumb screws that have been used to fix it into place, and the positions to which those screws are in. They can be difficult to get to, especially the one there by the front of the case. It took us repeated attempts while the screw just kept dropping down. But anyway, the SSDs just need screws attaching to the underside, and that is pretty much it. Now, Shogun arrives with a feature which we think has been missing from case design for too long. It is the inclusion of some type of support for the graphics card. Shogun has a series of plastic shelves with soft rubber padding to prevent the card from sagging at the tail end, as they often do. Not only are there multiple shelves, but you can also adjust the height to suit different cards. And so this is quite a flexible and certainly an innovative implementation. Okay, so next we'll take a closer look at the different clearance options within Shogun to give you guys a better understanding of what you can install inside the case. And so for the CPU cooler, we have up to around 175mm. Installed here we have the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, which is just 159, and there you can see there is a huge amount of space left before it touches the glass. In the graphics card department, there are no obstructions as the storage doesn't interfere at all. And so the distance available here is up to 410mm. And so plenty of room there, even for the giant flagships out there. The area behind the Mobo tray is important for storing cables, and in this section we have around 2.5cm, which is rather generous. You do however need to be mindful that anything sticking out may mark the glass, so it is best to tuck anything away as best as possible. And that is fairly easy to achieve, as there is lots of cable grommets and hooks to tie the cables back to. Looking at the water cooling support, up at the top we first of all have to detach that top panel from the case, which as we mentioned earlier can be quite tricky to do. Just be careful you don't just pull on the top, as the plastic clips can break easily. Up at the top we can install up to 360mm radiators due to the mounting placement and the space. And we've installed here a Corsair Hydro Series cooler, which is 240mm. You can see there just how much space is left over. And the distance at the top allows both radiator and fan lots of space. And of course at the front we can go up to 280, and at the back we can go up to 140, so there are lots of options inside this case for water. Okay, and finally guys, we're now going to do a quick sound demo to show you how loud these fans are while they're spinning. So that in a nutshell is the BitFenix Shogun. BitFenix has certainly delivered on styling, on build quality and features. With the overall design of Shogun, as we've seen in the past, they've chosen to go down a simple and discreet avenue, and it definitely works. The use of glass and aluminium is always going to be synonymous with elegance and class. And you know, from a visual perspective, we really like what they've done there in terms of the styling. Now inside is where things get very interesting, because this case might have a conventional layout, but it brings in and it adds some creative features. You know, there are numerous places for your storage on the back side and also on the front side. The front side there obviously benefiting from that RGB lighting, which may or may not interest some. The sheer size of this case alludes to good flexibility for hardware support. As we've seen, you know, key areas have excellent space for clearance. The GPU there being one of those things which allows pretty much anything to fit inside, as well as multi-GPU, and of course with the added bonus of GPU support plates. Now the only real reservations that I have about this case are first of all the awkwardness with that design of the SSD bracket, which goes from the front to the back. With a slight redesign, they could really make that much easier to use. And the other thing is the glass panels. You know, do we really need dual tempered glass? You know, certainly on the prominent side, it is a handy thing to have to be able to see your hardware, especially if you've got lighting to show it off. But on the back side, it really serves no purpose. Not only does adding in another sheet of glass bump up the price, but it also increases the weight. And just on its own, this case is 15 kilos. You know, so by the time that you get your kit installed inside here, it is looking at around about 20 kilos, which was difficult enough for us to kind of move around for this video review. So guys, that is pretty much it. If you want to know what the cooling is like for this case, please head over to the full review, which is going to be on the screen and in the description very soon. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch. Hope you did enjoy it. Please comment below, and I will see you guys in the next video.